Warning, this episode contains strong language or mature themes. Parental discretion is advised.
I always like to listen to music.
So do I.
I brought my tapes. I'll just set it in, and now we push this button.
Welcome to This Podcast is Uncalled For.
What's uncalled for about it?
What we doing at Tijuana?
You met a girl, didn't you? I was like, oh, how did you know? He was like, oh, because it always happens. It always happens. It's the only stupid reason that you would ever drop the ROTC, because of a stupid girl.
And then look, thank you back home.
Oh, that's going to be great for the football charts.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I can think of 100 right off the top of my head.
Is paid a genre?
So it just, a lot happens behind the scene that people don't know about. Like, it's hard for the average voter to understand how much of what they think is their democracy is decided by faceless people to them. You know, you and I know who's making these decisions.
There you go. These are the kind of discussions we have. Fortunately, we're both fairly level-headed people. Again, we're looking at each other in the eye. We're not going to say anything derogatory to the other person. And, of course, neither of us is drunk.
Take me to Gay's barbecue.
It's a bit of a slap in the face and insults.
But you didn't even give him a chance for a wild card spot.
And the look on Mike's face.
They love big boys like you.
It's kind of, what is that character from Guardians of the Galaxy who takes everything literally? The people are out there, like, they could have taken it literally.
Yeah, we're crazy people and we love what we do, and so we just keep creating regardless of how hard it can be sometimes.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on your podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
And remember, no you.
That is uncalled for, Michael.
And now, your host for this podcast, Mike Chernevsky.
I have a lot more on this tape. Here. Listen to this.
Well, the name of this podcast is Stuff Uncalled For?
This podcast is uncalled.
Podcast, all right. Well,
And all y'all, subscribe and like and comment and subscribe. Yeah, I said it.
Fuji!
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Braden's here with me.
Howdy.
And we have a interview today. We've got Danny Fhantum
Yes, sir.
and King Dari.
Pleasure to meet you,
All right.
And
So,
combined with myself, we formed the group called Faded Mercury. Yes.
all right,
Yes,
so
sir.
these are your bandmates. Nice.
Yes. Like diverse Migos, pretty much.
Too soon.
Oh. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. So how'd you guys get started?
Oof.
So mainly we got started through, I think King should tell the story.
Oh, y'all gonna put me on the spot. Okay.
He's the one that brought us together, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, but like, I can't take all the credit. Like, so to kind of try and put it in like a long story short thing, I'm gonna make it long anyways, because that's just how my ADHD
Hey, we got
works.
the time. We got the time, bud.
So pretty much last year around May, I would say, May of 2022, I had reached a point in my music career and my my job career where I was unsatisfied with everything. I was working long hours and doing 24-hour on-calls with really no breaks in sight. My job was just terrible, and I had just released the first part of a mixtape called REM Side A, which you can go and stream on all streaming platforms. And when I released it, I was just like, I'm kind of just releasing this to release this, and I told myself I wasn't going to do that anymore. And I was just really dissatisfied, and I was like, I need to figure out ways to elevate my music career. And I slowly I started thinking, Danny also was at a moment in his career where he was just like, I'm kind of, okay with just doing, this, and this, but I'm really trying to focus on myself right now, which I find very honorable. And Braden was on the opposite end of that spectrum. Braden was finally like figuring out like what he wanted to do, where he wanted to go, and he was trying to figure out ways to really elevate his career. And so after reading a lot of audiobooks, like, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a and
you can cuss on this.
He won't.
It's part of my character.
We've tried to get him to curse on the track, but he's
it's part of my character as an artist. I'm taking the Will Smith route. Don't even.
It's a good thing I'm here.
Yeah.
Keep my wife's name out your motherfucking mouth.
Yes. No, but
shit, fuck.
But seriously though, like. I don't know. I take an approach with my music as well as just when I'm doing anything in public, keep a professional mind, keep a professional mouth. I know everyone else is different. Obviously, if you see me in private, it's a different story. But I have family that would be paying attention to this. I have friends who would be paying attention to this. I come from a family of ministry, so I have to be very professional at all times.
But when you vent, bro, you vent.
I do. And we don't have to get into that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Damn well.
I had the idea after reading a bunch of audiobooks, that inspired me. I also had been listening and following a group that finally got their big break, Coast Contra, which shout out to those guys. They are amazing. They bring a new air to hip hop because of how close they are. But they shared a room that was no bigger than this, maybe. All four of them. And through that time, they would read audiobooks. They had a chalkboard on one wall, and they would just bounce ideas off of each other for a whole year. And it wasn't until last summer that they finally got their big break. And so for me, one of the biggest things that they talked about is surrounding yourself with people that want to see you succeed. When I released my mixtape, the first two people who reached out to me were these two. They told me, you did such an amazing job. You did amazing. Keep going. And I was at the time trying to figure out people who I wanted to collab with. And I was like, I want to do a collab song with these two or something like that. And so I reached out to them individually, and I was like, hey, I have an idea. Maybe I was thinking, we could all get to, me and you and my other friend Danny could get together, and vice versa with Danny. I talked to him, you, me, my friend Braden, we can get together. We can make some music, collab, do a project or something like that. It'd be really fun. We can all meet up. And so they, I'm really grateful for them, because if they didn't agree, none of this would have happened. So, they both agreed. We started out in a Snapchat group. But then, Braden, being Braden, was like, I don't like social media. Let me just go ahead and bounce out.
Way to call me out for wanting to be engaged in the world and not stuck to my phone. Trifling.
But we really, gelled in the group, and then we made plans to hang out. I think they got rescheduled once. And then we all hung out at Braden's place. When we went over there, Braden was a great host. He made dinner. He made us feel comfortable. I still have our first song.
Oh, I still have the stems for our first song.
I have our first recorded song that will stay in the vault as long as I live.
It is for our 3
years. Yeah.
We know exactly
Danny, would you like to explain the concept of said song?
It's basically, let's just say, our chemistry read. That's the equivalent of our first song we ever did. We just got on a song. It's like, I don't know how we're going to mesh together, so we just recorded a whole bunch of just vocals and just see how it meshed, and we just had a good laugh out of it.
Yeah, we just found some old YouTube tracks that were on YouTube that people could buy for full price later on. Mm-hmm. But we just put it to an MP3 converter, put it in, then we just did our own stuff, and we We kind of just made fun of trap music.
Yeah, we just had so much fun. We're laughing, and we just kind of like at the same time just basically understanding how our own styles mesh with each other, and then that was just the catalyst of just being able to go on from there and see how we're able to create the music that we did create from that one song, even though it'll only be for us three. No one's ever gonna hear it.
Yeah, that ain't reaching out.
Yeah, and I mean the biggest thing that I enjoyed about that is because I've known Danny since we've known each other since we were prepubescent kids. Like we grew up together, like right at certain points right down the street from one another.
Almost like 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years, bro. Like we go deep. And then Braden and myself, we became friends in the summer of 2019 doing a theater. And so like I had both of these two, in both different areas of my life that I was really passionate about. So putting it together for me was like fitting pieces of a puzzle, like does this go here? Does this go here? And I'm so grateful again to them because they were just so willing to just be so open to everything. When we all got together, I mean, it was almost an instant chemistry. And, obviously it got built better over time, but like I knew even though we were recording that, it was the same feeling that I felt when I started writing music after I met them and reading the audiobooks. I felt the passion. Yeah, it wasn't the best. Yeah, it was kind of trash, but I had fun while doing it, and they had fun while doing it too. And so we started talking a little bit more, and we were like, we could actually make this a thing. Like we should make a project. We should start doing this, and then we started like coming up with like names for our group. We had a lot of different names. And then like we
were going through a lot of stuff. Like I shoot, what were the first ones?
I can't even remember.
I don't know. What I remember from like the first time we were trying to figure out our project was that both of you guys were like, we're doing a whole full-length album. It's like, whoa. Take it easy. Don't jump the gun real quick.
It's like, hey,
it's like let's keep it minimum for now, because first of all, no one, all three of us together, they don't know who we are. So why are we gonna present them with something give them a whole freaking like novel to read? It's like I don't even know who you guys are.
I like novels though. I like novels.
I was just trying to keep it smart from a business standpoint, and trying to keep and just not oversaturate the listeners with too much right up from the jump. And so like as we were progressing, we were like, okay, we're gonna do this. Like maybe we should go this route. Then we should go this route. And as time went on, those months passed, and we were just like, okay, we're doing this, we're doing that. Just kind of we were just learning as we went along.
Anything, we ended up just giving the audience like samples of what we could do, because you got like different variety. Because there's 6 songs on the project that's called Outside the Collective. Go check it out. It's on all streaming platforms right now.
It's lit.
Faded Mercury, it's a pretty easy name to look up. And we're the only Faded Mercury everywhere.
And the great part about it is I got it from a generator.
Oh, a generator?
Yeah, I pulled up an artist generator on my laptop, and
because you drove an old Mercury.
Yeah.
At one point.
Well, no, because that was kind of how I put the pieces together. But I literally put that in a generator, guys. I put that in a generator, and like they had because it was like keywords. I put in Mercury. They came up with like a bunch of different Mercury names. Faded Mercury was there. When I read it off, all of us were like, ooh. Especially Braden. Braden really liked the name because he's very abstract in his approach as an artist, which I love. And so like when everything happened, I was like, oh, okay. But like also because the idea that I had was like, what you were just talking about was because we were throwing out keywords to put in the random artist band name generator, and I was like, why don't we use Mercury? I was like, because one of my old cars was a beat up Mercury Mountaineer 2003.
I remember that
car was beat up.
I remember having to you called me at somewhere around noon, and I was stuck with you in the Walmart parking lot till 6 o'clock on that.
That was the day that I replaced my alternator, I think.
Yeah.
And literally 2 months later, my car fell apart as I was driving. Like it fell off of the axle. The only thing that was holding it together was the threads of the wheel, and it was bad. But yeah, I figured that out, and when I read the name, it was almost like it became synonymous with our group because, you know, mercury is very volatile. It can be absorbed into any substance, but also it's very spontaneous depending on the environment. And much like mercury, all three of us, you know, we're very volatile in our musicality. Now the faded part, that's those two. And that's pretty self-explanatory.
What do you mean by that, King?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess you're going to have to put it together, huh?
Okay. Smoke weed every day. I was like, hey, already, man.
But also at the same point, you know, with that being said, like at some point in time, all three of us have been like faded, whether that's like drinking, whether that's smoking, whether that's like blinded by like, you know, random stuff that's going on in our lives.
Faded could mean a whole lot.
It could mean a whole lot of different things.
It could mean a whole
high on life, or it could be a million different things.
Blinded by the light.
Yeah.
You know, that's a funny song because for years I thought he was saying douche.
That's what everybody thought.
Like a douche. Like, it's so funny. But yeah, like
people are watching us by the window.
Oh, hello, people. But yeah, you know, that honestly, when we came together with the name and we agreed on it, that's when I really felt the chemistry start to take off. You know, these two, aside from my family, are the closest thing I have in this world. You know, we bounce ideas off of one another like crazy. We have a group chat on Messenger that like we literally are in constantly. Like, we'll just throw in ideas. He's thrown in like at least 100 beats there. I've thrown in a couple of songs that I've done. He's thrown in some song ideas. And so it's just like, it's not like an individual thing. It's a collective thought process, and I love it. It's like putting pieces of a puzzle together, and I love puzzles. So
as busy as we are, we always just find time. We literally meet once, maybe even twice a week at this point.
Yeah.
Just to get the ideas going. And yeah, when I first like really started to understand how our chemistry worked, I was just trying to understand what is our sounds individually. And I was thinking about like, okay, Braden, you're very driven by guitars.
Yeah, guitar.
Yes.
I'm the alternative rock guy. Is what I seem to be.
Which, shameless plug, if you haven't heard his most recent album, In the Dark, you should definitely go check that out. It's got some great stuff, and your boys are featured in it.
Both of us.
Both of them. They honestly, you two got the bangers on my album, because like Listener, that's like definitely the club song.
That's such a good
Black
song.
Cherry, that's the.
That was the first song we recorded together.
That was one of the first too, for sure. Yeah.
And then with King, aka Darius, I call him a Darius.
Again,
but with him, he's the vocalist, very vocally driven. Just the way his flow, his wordplay, everything. Just he's very vocal driven. And then myself, I am very drum driven. So in other words,
the drums ain't it.
The drums good.
It's just like. In other words, if we were a band, Braden would be the guitarist, I would be the drummer, and King would be the vocalist.
Yeah, and like
nothing but loop pedals on stage.
Nothing but loop pedals. So many loop pedals. But like, yeah, like you know, to Danny's point, you know, that's also something else that I was thinking of too. And I find it really cool because our creative process now, we've been around each other for what now? Because it was May of last year. Now what? almost 8 months.
Pretty much about 7 months.
Yeah. So like, you know, now we're at a point in our chemistry where now I add guitar sounds. Sometimes Braden gives us lyricism and vocals, and sometimes, you know, like both of us come up with drums because of how his drums are, and sometimes he comes up with lyrics. So it's just like we all bounce off of one another.
We all like. All of us, we try to learn something from each other, and that we always try to ask each other, what could we do better? The best example I could think of was there was one time where me and Braden were in the studio, and I think you were busy with something. I forgot what it was.
Yeah.
We were like just we were working on some beats, and I kept telling him, like, when it came to adding his guitar parts, like, hey, keep it very simple.
It was on OCD.
Yeah.
He wanted to be like so slick. I kept like doing like.
You wanted to do a whole riff.
But then I wanted to do a whole riff. So then I figured out to like you kept wanting like keep it simple. Even the engineer was like, yo, keep it very, very
Exactly.
simple.
By the
Very,
way,
very simple.
The engineer, we know him as the other Danny.
Danny X.
Yes, Danny X. What
X.
a guy! Like, he is one of the biggest reasons as to why our EP sounds the way it does.
Shout out to you, Danny X. Yeah, it wouldn't be possible without you, my guy.
Shout out to Danny X and everybody at Unlabeled Studios.
Yeah.
Yes, because those guys are amazing at what they do. But yeah, like, as to what Danny and Braden were saying, like, seriously, I mean, there are times where Danny, like, we'll be working on something and Danny will be like, hey, you hear that? Slow it down. And then we're like, oh, that sounds good. Or like sometimes Braden will be listening to like a melody and he'll be like, yo, why don't we add something right here? And with me now, at the level where I'm at, I can come up with lyrics literally like that, just because of, again, these two and their drive to succeed. It forces me to up my game. Like every time we meet up, obviously, there's like the professionalism, but the thing that Danny wanted to set from the jump is that before we get to the music, we get to the human first. And I love that.
Yeah, because there's so many times where it's like, where you try to just go straight into the work, into the music. And to some degrees, yeah, that'll be fine. But like when you're creating like art itself, if you just try to go straight into the music, it's just, or like anything creative, it's just kind of like, you can just tell when it'll be artificial, like just how the chemistry works with people. And if like there's artificial chemistry there, people can sense that. That makes sense. Like same thing with like filmmaking, like you just how you interact with like your DPs, your producers, your lighting, your boom mics. It's everybody involved. It's like how you guys work, and with all of us, we just had to really got to know each other as humans and just understand who we are as people to be able to build off of the momentum that we were building as the project went on.
Because I agree. Yeah, this project, this group, honestly, what I believe is built around is all the kinetic energy. Mm-hmm. We feed off of each other so much, and I think that's why we work so well, not just together, but separately as well. Mm-hmm. Like, we bounce each other's ideas off of each other so much, and we can easily sense when one of us is having an off day.
Yeah. I mean,
And whenever we get into certain sessions that are like certain deals that go on outside that like interfere with us sonically, and like it kills our motivation some points, but like at the end of the day we're still there. We may take like a week off or something like that, but we're still there checking on each other.
Which is gonna happen. We're humans at the end of the day, but like
just we're broke artists. Seriously, it happens.
Everyone in this room,
yeah, and like the biggest thing to both of their points is like. I'm a big person of energy, especially now. I'm a big believer in the law of conservation of mass, which, energy is not created nor destroyed, it's transferred, all that jazz. I'm sure anybody that took a chemistry class knows about it. But like, there was a time where I had to depend on myself to pick my energy back up. And now I know that if my energy's low, I can count on these two to bring the energy, so that way I can get back up when I need to. And they know that, I'll do that with them as well. Like all three of us, like if one person falls behind, the other two are right there to hold them up. We've gone through some crap.
Yeah.
Like
we're all going through some crap. Yeah. I literally just locked my keys in my car.
What?
Oh, not even kidding. I was going out to get you water to get ready for this, and then I locked the car because I got an old Kia that me and my family bought off of my cousin, and it doesn't have a key fob. So I have to turn the key manually. I have to press the button on the inside manually, and then I guess the keys just fell out of my pocket in the back seat.
Well, we'll be right back after these long messages.
Just to let you know,
these are our sponsors.
Yes.
But yeah, like, you know, like we're all going through something, and there have been like, you know, there have been moments where like, you know, somebody's like really low, and the other two just like flank them in love and like, you know, just compassion. Like, and I really love that because I mean, nowadays I mean, it's a big thing now, you know, men expressing their emotions and feelings, which I love. I'm all for it. But like most people who are of our age bracket, they're stuck between the crossroads of, oh, I see all this love. Should I accept it or should I go with what I know? You know, the traditions. And so with us, there's nothing but love. You know, I'm the lovey one usually. Like I tell these dudes I love them all the time or much love. You know, I give them hugs. You know, I always feed into them. You know, like that's just who I am. You know, and so like, you know, these two, by proxy, you know, they, you know, it's just like it's a big love triangle. You know, it's great. You know, and I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt that, you know, if something were to happen, like if I were to lose, God forbid, knock on this artificial wood. Right. You know, if like I were to lose like a family member or something tomorrow, I know that at that moment, that night, these two are calling me, checking in on me, making sure that I'm okay. You know, I love these guys. You know, I know that they love me too, and it's lit, bro. It's lit.
Good deal. Anyone else want to add anything?
So, what would you guys say was the biggest turning point for our project? Because I know there were. I know it was like if I can compare the journey of our album of our project process to like a race, it would look like one of those ones from Speed Racer.
Yeah.
Like more specifically, the one at the end with all the crazy.
Yeah, it's like a Need for Speed game or a Mario Kart game where the music gets all fast and extreme on the final lap, and everything gets crazy, and like the AI start to like actually catch up and start like bumping you and stuff, and you're like, what's going on? And then somebody behind you has a blue shell, and you're like,
it's like if the Rainbow Road was actually trying to throw you off,
which it does.
Too many times, way too many times.
Yes, and so
I mean, I would say that my turning point was the moment that we were in Unlabeled Studios and we were just recording nonstop of just all the songs that we were working on, and just seeing it come to life, and little by little, like every week, just seeing like, oh, this is really becoming a thing, and then to the point where we all sat down when it was officially like done mixed, and all of us just sitting on the couch and just playing the entire project and just listening, like what's like thinking like, wow, we really did this, like we really made something out of this. Because most times when you collab with people, you think to yourself, like a lot of times 7, 8, 9 times out of 10 when you try to collab with someone, it never really goes through like in its entirety, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, we should work something, we should do something, and like I call it bar talk, where it's just like, oh, you're gonna work with somebody, we should do this, we should do that, we should do it, and then it never comes to fruition. And then there's those times where you actually like talk to someone, let's do something, then it actually comes to fruition and we actually make something. And it's like that moment, just us sitting there just listening to all the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into our work, from the production to the writing to just how everything's arranged. And, you know, Danny X, you know, he still was a major part of that for sure. And just actually hearing our work back was, for me, a big turning point, and just being like, wow, we really did this. And on top of that, getting everything prepared for the cover art to the release date, everything. It's like,
shout out to your sister, by the way.
Shout out to my sister Sue. You came in clutch, and yeah, that's just like, it was crazy. Just little by little, day by day, we just kept building and building to the point where it's just like we have this whole finished product, and it's like, holy shit,
we made something.
Yeah.
Like Tyler the Creator said, you succeeded. If you made
if you put something out, or if you've made it and let the world see, you've succeeded. Because how many artists don't?
Exactly.
You know, how many artists just let it sit in their vault? Some of the greatest songs that have ever been created are sitting in somebody's vault because they're afraid of what other people might think.
Some of the best artists haven't even recorded a lick of music just because of their confidence level.
Yeah.
Like Logic said, the greatest rapper alive is probably stacking produce.
It's just, it really comes down to how bad do you want it? How bad are you willing to put into it? Regardless of like whether it's put out into the world, how much are you putting in? Like, how many songs are in the vault? How many movies or films have you filmed that are still waiting for its moment? Are you gonna wait for it, or are you just gonna say fuck it and put it out?
Like 23 is the year to put your stuff out.
I'm telling you, like,
whether you're a musician, whether you're a filmmaker, whether you're doing anything, now's the time to do it.
This is not a call out. I mean, it kind of is. If you take this as a call out post, all my creatives, then that means that we're telling the truth, because we are. But this is mostly encouragement. Don't let somebody or someone, even if it's yourself, get in the way of you putting stuff out in your own success. I had to get out of my own way, and I'm sure everyone in this room had to get out of their own way.
Because think of it this way. Did any of you guys make your music for Mike here?
No.
Did any of you make your music for anybody outside of this room?
I mean, it depends, but no, for the most part.
I mean, like, no.
But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Any real musician is just making this for themselves, especially in the position that we're in.
At the end of the day, it's like, for me, I see it as like, my thing is I just make sure that I put it out for myself, and whoever hears it, like, for me, the craziest thing is knowing that there's someone out there that is literally taking time out of their day. They could be doing anything else. They could take those 2-3 minutes doing something else, and then they decide to check out my stuff, and it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter whether they enjoy it or if they like it. It's just like they took time out of their day to be able to just listen to the craft that I curated, and just the things I created, and that's a win in general. I mean, one of the for me, my own personal experience was when I dropped one of my songs called "Till the Night's Done." I remember looking at my insights and thinking, seeing this, someone's listening to it all the way from Saudi Arabia, and I was like, in the Middle East, like, I don't know how that happens. Like, these people are actually actively listening to my song thousands of miles away, and it's something I made in my bedroom. That's like insane to think about, that just something you created in your bedroom is being listened to, whether it's a couple miles away, 100 miles away, 1,000 miles away. Maybe it's halfway across the world.
One listener in Italy and Indonesia.
Yeah, and like, like,
that's a win in itself.
Yeah.
I know, right?
And like, I'm of the approach to where I'm just eternally grateful. Music is my life. Music is my passion. I've been doing it for as long as I can walk, and so for me, it's the thing that keeps me going. Like, I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have that. Like, I rushed, pledged, and am an alumni of a music fraternity. I did all music throughout my middle, high school, and college career, and even now. And so for me, like, it doesn't matter about, now at least, it doesn't matter about streaming numbers. It doesn't matter about CD sales. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It matters about the heart of it. Mm-hmm. Because when you get down to the heart of it, it's an intimate experience. And if you can capture that intimate experience of what you're thinking into your music, you can impact anybody. That'll come with it later. But it's all about the now. What are you feeling now? If you feel something, put it into music, and the rest will tell itself.
And that's all we did through the whole 6 months of our process. We just put whatever we felt into the song. It didn't really matter what topic we were talking about, because they all kind of based around the same stuff. Because personally, I believe our biggest turning point was when we made our opening track, "Fight."
That was a big turning point.
Because I made the beats the day beforehand, and all of us were down bad. I can't remember what was going on with each of our situations, but I just know all of us were like down and out and not ready to do anything. So I just sat down at my desk, and I made a like little drum loop off of this little drum program that I have on my laptop, and I did this weird thing where I find a weird sound to sample, and then I just base my drum loop off of that. In this case, I found like one of those like sounds you'd hear when you swoosh a sword, like in those old video games. So then I just did that, and then I built a whole drum loop around that, and then I got on this old keyboard that's literally been in my house for like 20 plus years. Like my parents got it for my sister when she was a little girl because she thought she was going to be wanting to play piano. She can't even sing for we ain't even got
one loss at it.
One loss to someone's game.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, true. But like, yeah, I just made up some like simple like little keys on there that had like a video game type aspect to it, and then I added some strings and horns, and then we took it into the studio the next day where I knew I was going to see these guys, and then I brought it to Danny X, which shout out to the homie again. He made it into what the beat actually was. He added some guitar licks to it and gave it layers and a thick bass line, and then when these two came in and saw the beat coming together, I like low key was trying to like push the beat on him. I was low key like saying like, hey, like nonchalantly trying to tell you guys like, hey, I made this beat for us. Get your fucking shit off your chest.
I mean, you didn't have to convince me because I was going through some stuff.
Oh yeah, I saw you come into the studio. Your energy was low. I see you almost damn near like every other day.
Yeah.
Your energy was low, bro.
Yeah, I was going through some things last year around the fall.
Like you see that scene where Charlie Brown is like just dragging his drag along.
Yeah. So like when I first heard the beat, I wrote lyrics in that session. Like my lyrics were wrote in that session.
And Danny had his energy off the rip like that.
Yeah, and it was just like the lyrics for my part on that was just looking through my old like rhyme, like my quote unquote rhyme book, and just looking through all my lyrics, like what fits perfectly. And lo and behold, the way I started off was like, oh, I made a song to it 2 years ago. Now I'm finally using it 2 years later.
That's what I love about your lyricism as well, because it's almost like a reverse MF Doom type deal.
Yes,
where, like, everybody like puts his sampled vocals on every type of beat.
Yes,
you could put your lyrics on damn near every
universal.
It's lyrics, like for me,
because I give you different types of beats, and like even like outside of this, which we're gonna try and drop "Damn Tension," another song pretty soon, hopefully. But you were flipping through like maybe I think 10 verses before you came up with the one you finalized on.
It's just been years and years of just like listening to songs, just coming up with lyrics in my head, hooks, and a lot of it's just like either just like maybe like a couple lines to where it's like. Or to even just an entire verse and just seeing what works and what doesn't. That's just like, for me, like it takes a minute to be able to write stuff. Like King said, for him it's just instant. For me, it takes me a minute or just looking through old stuff and like, okay, what works, what doesn't, and yeah, man, that song was just like, it was just like meant to be. It's always for me just trial and error, seeing what works and what doesn't.
It really was.
It was man.
It was as simple and as powerful as we could get. All I do is fight. That's all we needed for the hook.
Yeah.
All I do is fight.
Who came up with the hook? Wasn't it you?
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy how like with all of us, it brought out some our strong suits for the project. Like for me, when out of the 6 songs, I produced 4 of them, and it was just like. The fact that a lot of times when I make beats myself, I first started off as a producer. I used to go by Danny Fhantum Beats, and then after that, I was like, you know what? I actually want to do music, and just actually putting my work that I put in production wise on an actual canvas, on an actual project. It's like, wow, and just seeing that every beat that I put into, and it's like. Holy crap, we're actually doing something with this, because a lot of times I just have stuff that's just chilling there, and like and seeing how we can build off of that too is like insane, absolutely insane.
Yeah, for sure. Now that I'm thinking about it, obviously what you two, both you, Danny, and Braden have said about those are some really big turning points for us. However, I'm a big person of like the beginning. It's in the beginning. So the biggest turning point for me of the group was in August of 2022. I'm not going to go into detail for the sake of all of our mental
The
health.
podcast is uncalled for. We can get to the dirty beats if you want to, bud.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, you know what they say? Fuck it, we ball.
You're right. Coach Fluker, thank you for that saying. So in August of 2022, there was a specific situation that happened that almost made us not do the group anymore. You know what I'm talking about? I didn't want to mention it because I know that
we swore to never bring it.
Just for this one time.
Hold on. Let me ask, Mike. Have you ever been? What's the term nowadays?
Have you ever
fucked over?
Fucked over, bamboozled?
A lot.
I've been bamboozled.
Shatted on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than you can imagine.
Yeah.
Scammed.
I'm going to keep this very simple because if I get into it, not only will I get upset all over again, Braden will get upset all over again. I'm going to keep this as very simple as I can.
No more suspense. Let's get right to it.
We're going to try to make an omelet out of broken eggs.
Yes, very broken eggs, like eggshells and dried yolk.
Fuck it, them shells got protein. Them shells got protein.
So...
Out of 100-year-old egg.
Wait a minute. Did you say them eggshells have protein?
Fuck it, protein.
Ew! Why do you eat eggshells, bro? Ew!
What are you eating, the peel on the banana too?
If I'm feeling like ballsy.
Oh Hey!
Peel and all.
Ew! But, okay, so I was involved in this competition that I auditioned for called Coast to Coast Live. And there was the prelims pretty much where you qualified, and if you qualified in the top like from first to third in your city, you would get a slot in the winner's circle to go to Miami and compete for $50,000. You had to pay for your own room and board and your own trip down there because that's just it. It is what it is. But I must have practiced for this for like 3-4 months. This was probably the biggest opportunity I had in my music career up until that point. When I got there,
He had each of us going over his performance.
yeah, like we went through. I went over my performance with them. I practiced it on my own. I was nervous to the point to where like I had like multiple mental breakdowns. So the day of the performance finally arrives. I go there, I knock it out the park. These two are there to support me. I get second place. And I knew I was going to place because, I was confident in my abilities and my rehearsal skills. That's the thing about me. I'm really confident in my musicality. And there's never been a moment where I haven't been. With that, I actually, got second place and I had to, like figure out what I was going to do to make it to Miami. Literally a day later, I get a call from somebody who's like, hey, what? Is there something going on? Oh.
Just nonchalantly, my father bringing my keys I locked in my car.
Hey.
Nice.
Come say hi to the podcast.
How you doing, sir?
Good.
I'm Dad.
Dad.
To the rescue.
To the rescue.
To the rescue.
Thanks, Bob.
And we're back.
Sorry about that.
Braden's dad, everybody.
Braden's dad.
Figure the more the merrier.
So, I got a call from somebody that was like, hey, sorry, or they were like, hey, I'm surprised you didn't come up and talk to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? I talked to literally everyone there. What are you talking about? They're like, oh, I was at your Coast to Coast event. Yada, yada, yada. I'm like, oh, okay. And so they were like, did you know?
Danny has his photo covered.
And they're like, did you know that
face.
there's a side thing, aside from Coast to Coast that they don't tell you about that gives you incentives to like do like dinners with like J. Cole and stuff. And I'm like, interesting. Okay. And I already had my suspicions, but I was like riding off the high of like making it to get to Coast. I had a little bit of money saved up. And so I was like, you know what? If this is a scam, okay. I have enough money to spend and, get scammed. So let's see this. And then they contacted these two. Now, I had my doubts, But I was like, you know what? This is fine. Because me and the person FaceTimed. I got their information. And I even had plans to go to like one of their shows. However, I called Coast to Coast, and they said that they had no affiliation with them whatsoever.
Good due diligence, yeah.
By this point, I lost $125.
Yeah, I lost about $120, $30 as well.
We're not going to go into detail.
More.
Yes, we'll just leave it at more.
And let's just say
yeah.
too, this same person that FaceTimed me.
Yes.
She was FaceTiming me. Well, I swear to God, she was inside of a freaking Popeye's chicken getting a drink.
So she FaceTimed you?
She FaceTimed me. She sent me a picture of her freaking ID. Right?
Yep.
A picture of
me the same ID.
Yeah, the same ID.
Yeah.
And she was like, she was talking about all this stuff, and I swear to God, I saw the Popeyes logo, and I was like, this chick is really, really trying to do all this while getting a drink at Popeyes.
And so after all that, we reported her to Coast. We reported her to.
They've been on her for weeks, apparently.
Yeah, good. And I know your name, Asia, if that's your real name. I have your ID on my phone in a screenshot, and I have your face. So if you ever think about scamming artists again, I will expose you! I will expose you for the fraud that you are, okay? I will expose you, and I will make sure that your life is a living hell, okay? You mess with the wrong people. Thank you.
Bro, I'm all for takeout China, but fuck Asia.
Chill, bro. Yeah, but like
that bitch,
it was the most frustrating part of our project's journey, because I have okay? I've been through a lot of moments with Braden, okay? And I've been through a lot of moments with Danny. I've seen Danny that upset. But he was more chill about it than I was expecting. And Braden was the one that I have never seen this man more heated. He came over to my place the next day and just vented in the street. Like, I had to like hug him and comfort him because he was so pissed off. And he had every right to be pissed off. I mean, like,
here's the thing. I'm just a very passionate person.
We'll put it that way.
I mean, if that's what you want to call it.
I just sink a lot of my time and effort into this, and sometimes I get carried away by my own faults, and I end up cutting my own head in the process.
It'd be like that.
But yeah.
And so like, he's, during that time, Braden like disappeared off the radar for like a week. Danny and I were talking back and forth because we were concerned that this was going to be the end of everything.
Well, by that time, it was also the point where I was leaving my warehouse job.
Yes.
Which, by the way, fuck Aldi.
Yeah, you were getting a paid disability and all that was happening.
I'm still going through that case, bro.
Really?
I'm still going through it. I have a court date set on February just to dispute the whole thing.
Are they going to settle?
I hope they do, because I'm still getting, okay... To put it into perspective, I've been in
sidebar.
Yeah, sidebar. I've been in a workman's comp deal with my old warehouse job. Basically, they don't like to clean up the trash around there and keep up with the cleanup crew, which they don't want to invest time or money into. And I doubt they have since I've been gone, because I keep hearing the same problems from all my old coworkers. My foot got caught on a piece of loose strap that hadn't been cut off of a pallet. And I was already carrying boxes, so all I had to break my fall was my knee. My knee has not felt right ever since. I have to do this whole, squatting swan thing where I curve my ankle over my other knee.
Hey, but it makes your knees crack like a glow stick, and I like that.
Dude, really?
It's great.
My knees keep cracking like glow sticks. Yeah, I'm too young to be getting this old.
No. We've gone through a global pandemic. We're fine.
I know, but then outside of that, I've also had instances where I've also gone out of work because I fell on my back from spilled berries that nobody's picked up or anything. Right. It's just a mess of a warehouse. It was good pay. That's all the job was, is good pay. And management didn't really feel like doing anything about it. And everybody was just miserable in that warehouse. And I'm still fighting that case, even though I left that place on a high note, I might add.
Yeah.
Dude, money's money.
I mean, but like, did you get a lawyer?
I have a workman's comp lawyer.
Okay.
Shout out to Anna Mark.
Okay,
Dude, seriously.
All right.
Yeah, good, because I didn't know if you had a lawyer, but if you have a lawyer, then that's good.
No, she's my workman's comp attorney because, like, I don't know. I was at a certain point, I had to get her just because I didn't want to sue for anything.
Yeah.
That's not all. I just wanted to make sure that while I'm at home resting up, I'm still getting paid properly.
Please,
which I wasn't for about a month.
You gonna pay me $100,000 if I'm getting hurt?
Dude,
I don't care. I don't
my
care.
knee and my back haven't felt right since.
Are
Like,
you-
I got like you just saw me. I had to
Yeah.
stand up and walk around for a minute just to like loosen my shit, pretty much.
Yeah. Have you been did you guys come to an agreement about you going for a settlement?
We've already done a bunch of like we've already did X-rays and a bunch of stuff, and like we've talked a bunch, and now we have a final court date to settle it out pretty much sometime in February.
Yeah, and I know that for legal reasons you can't dispute how much it is on record.
Right.
I'm still going to ask you in private because I'm interested about that.
I don't give a fuck. Go ahead.
But I know for legal reasons you can't, because a lot of companies, especially these multi-million-dollar companies, they hear what you're trying to do.
No,
They'll try
dude,
to
I know
lowball
they're
you.
gonna be on
yeah,
me.
and so
I know they're gonna be on
for
me.
legal reasons, I'm not going to ask you. But what I will ask to kind of do the loophole is the settlement that you guys are going for, is that worth all of the trouble you went through?
I mean, if I get anything at the end of the day, sure. But like at this point, it's dust in the wind. That job is dust in the wind
blast
for me.
from the past.
It gave me enough money to support what I wanted to do. It gave me enough money to push my album ahead. It gave me enough money to support me living.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me enough money. That's about all I can say. And I met a couple really close friends there. Like, I got to give props to my buddies Gage and Trey over there and my homie Emily. Like, all those people it's the people that make a job worth it, literally.
Yeah, that's true.
Case in point with this group.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, to kind of full circle it, he was going through all of that. Danny had problems of his own where he was kind of, he had some growing pains a little bit. He was kind of figuring out more about what he was going through without getting into a lot of the detail because I don't want to speak for you.
No, to be honest, I just block it out at this point. I'm just like, I don't even remember what I ate this morning.
Fair enough. But yeah,
that's the way to do it.
But he had his growing pains, and I was currently in the first initial stages of grief, and I'm gonna keep it simple just because of personal reasons.
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
I was in the beginning stages of a really big grieving process over something that I had established over the last few years, and I had just got back on meds. I had also just started therapy again, and I also was in a play for the first time since 2019. What was
the play again?
Where was it Tony Stone. It was at the Unicorn downtown.
And who was that leading lady you were working with?
Oh, Jaysana?
Jaysana.
Amazing.
Seriously.
Jaysana is amazing. And, she actually went back to Chicago, or she moved back to Chicago.
No, come back.
Yeah, she's an amazing actress. So Jaysana.
Why are all the good actors not from Kansas City?
No, we have good actors in
I'm
Kansas
a great
City.
actor. Thank you very much.
We have good actors in Kansas City. A lot of them have been on this podcast. So.
I'm kidding.
Another actor that was with me, one of our close friends and somebody that we've acted alongside, all of us in this room at some point in time, Robert Vardaman, who just recently got engaged. Congratulations, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He was in that too, but that was a lot. I had to sacrifice a lot to get to that point. So all three of us at that point were going through a lot of crap. And when all three of us finally got together, when Braden was like, okay, I guess I'll come back, and then Danny was like, all right, let's just do this, because Danny was kind of like the one that was like encouraging both of us, because both of us were down, and I really appreciate him for that, because both of us were going through some crap, and Danny was just there like, hey, we can't let this stop us, it's part of our journey. The journey is everything.
Yeah,
that. When he said that, he kept saying that, that was when the hook for Journey came about. And we started recording the first bits of that song, which, by the way, I have that in my laptop, like the first few things that we did with that. Yeah. And when we came back on that session, I just remember that it felt like a dream. Everything was connecting. Our chemistry, the way that we looked at notes. When I felt like I couldn't get something, these two brought something. When these two didn't feel like something, I brought something. It was like everything was just firing on all cylinders, and that was like the first time I realized we could make this into something serious. Like, they are down for this. If we could go through all of this adversity and still come out making the quality of music that we're trying to make, there's literally nothing that can stop us.
Yeah, I'm a big believer of finishing what you started, and so when all that happened, I just was, that was really, really prominent in my mind. It's like, yo, we've already made these songs. Why the hell are we gonna stop now? Mm-hmm. It's a life, man. When shit happens, we're gonna deal with a bunch of shit. It might give that feeling of like, I can't do this right now. I can't do this anymore. I'm like, you just gotta keep powering through. It's just at the end of the day, it's like we just have to finish what we started, and something good can come out of it. And lo and behold, the song Journey was part of that process. And if that didn't happen, that song probably might not even happen, or maybe this wouldn't happen.
I'm pretty sure that's like the first one of the songs that we co-produced on.
Yeah.
Like that we worked together on, because we were working on you had the bass of the beat, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah. So what I remember from that song was that we were all at King's place one day. We were all just King's. And I remember you gave me this loop and the stems for it, and I just literally went to the living room while y'all were still in King's room, and I was just on my computer, just locked in, just like, how am I going to create something? What can I do with this? Like, plug this in, and then next thing you know, I bring it back and show you guys, and then we play it, and it was like this vocal part. I was like, what? I was kind of like, wait, that was an accident.
That was my idea.
That was an accident. It was
because I was like, hey, pitch that down, and then like put it like right behind that. You're like, I don't know if that's gonna work. I was like, yes, because like at first it was just the boo doo doo bop beep bop, and then the beat went on. Danny added that part, and like then there was like a whole bunch of other stuff that was thrown into it. Like it just was like a puzzle. Like we were just the same thing happened with Condo too. Because that's another turning point. Because
let's just say Braden had to get
a singer. I just want to point that out. I am a singer.
So
you were rapper.
I am not a rapper.
Young Gravy 2.0.
We
get the hell out.
Yeah, but like we
pushed him out of his comfort zone. Yeah, I just put it that way.
That was another turning point that I really think about, because this entire project pushed us all out of our comfort zone. Like, I'm very well-rounded, just because of, me being in music school, but there were aspects of this thing that I really had trouble with. Like with Noir, I had to really dig deep to write those lyrics. Mm-hmm. With what is so funny?
I really think that no, go ahead.
No. It's the way I heard Noir, and I was like,
I hate this every time. Okay, here's the deal.
Chest, I can't hardly.
Noir, in my opinion, is one of the best hooks lyrically I have ever made. Just listen to this. In my chest, I can hardly feel no heart. No, I'm blessed, but I can hardly see so far past my faults and flaws. Keep me up all night, scenes in black and white. Noir. You put that behind my soulful voice and some pianos, you have the song that's out now.
That's great.
But then you let these two dipshits joke about it with like a little
because that's also the
barbershop influence.
We turned it into a barbershop song.
A 5, 6, 7, 8
In my chest, I can't hardly feel no heart. No, I'm blessed, but I can't see so far past my faults and flaws. Keep me up all night, see the black and white hair. No lie.
To the point where we were even doing our own verses, like no lie.
Yeah, so like because like I think at that time. I was like,
I'm no one in everybody.
Yeah, because like at
can't
that time,
too much. I gotta
I hate it, but it's so good. But like at that time, I was actually developing like this style of like Kansas City music that I'm trying to make like KC bounce. And part of the concept is like you take a regular song, like something that's in regular common time, like this. It's the idea of a round peg, square hole. And so, like, I would always just, like, jokingly, like, do, like, with every song. And so I was listening to Noir one day, and I was just like, the song, In My Chest, I Can Hardly Feel. And one day I just started going, in my chest, I can hardly feel. And so, like, then, like, Danny... he started hearing, he was like, oh, this is funny. And I remember when we first put it in the groove, Braden was...
I've never wanted to slap y'all through the phone so much.
Braden was so livid, and like, we're just over here dying. Like, we're just over here
Because I
dying.
was listening to that song on repeat, the extended version, and I was in such a serious mood.
So basically,
you two.
We just basically ruined it for you.
Yeah. Like,
I am a serious musician here.
Yeah, and in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, like, somewhere down the road, some, like, indie artist, like, makes a jazz version of that song, like they always do with every other song that people do. And once that happens...
I wanna ball with my eyes closed. I got my money in time.
Jeez.
I went and bought me a condo. All of my homies got condos.
Sing it, Jimmy! But, like, I don't know.
Wait, Johnny?
Literally. But, like, I don't know, like, Journey, in all seriousness, that when we went through all that and then we made, like, Journey, I think that was one of the 2 or 3 songs I wrote my lyrics for before we went to the studio. Mm-hmm. And I just remember we played that back, must have been at least 50 times, just on loop for like an hour. Just us listening to it, listening to what we wanted the thing to be. And so like from that song, like we kind of came up with like our own like mantra, which is like the journey is everything. Because that song is the encapsulation of our journey. I mean, these two built that song from the ground up. I helped a little bit here and there, but like that song, in my opinion, kind of states all of the stuff that we went through in certain ways, and so like for me, like that one is just it has a little bit of a special feeling, like as a turning point to me, because the group could have ended right then and there, and we all could have went on to do whatever we were doing. But like through the encouragement from him and through our drive as a collective, we made it happen, and it just made us more hungry for making that type of music.
Yeah, it's just a special song for us in general, and like on top of that, I knew that it was going to be a popular song from our listeners aside from Kondo, which is kind of funny. Yeah, stop, dude. When I tell you, all my friends, they freaking loved it. Loved it.
Every single one. I didn't think it was. I'm gonna be completely honest. I didn't think it was gonna blow up like that,
dude. I didn't
think it was gonna be
I didn't think so. I could.
If anything,
I thought it was gonna be Journey.
If anything, I'm gonna be real. I thought it was gonna be like, because I'm just thinking like catchy wise. Yeah. It was gonna either be Fight or OCD for me.
Yeah, like I could have sworn it was gonna be Journey. I could have sworn it was going to be Journey. And then every person that I've talked to, they're like, man, I love this album. Kondo, though. I'm like,
Kondo. You just knowing how today's people are attracted to the sounds of like hip hop is just, the lyrics, yes, they're everything, but like also to the beat, because people are listening to the beat itself, and they're like,
and it's funny because the general concept of that song is just us screwing around.
We wanted to make a trap song. I was over here like, yo, we should make a trap song. I was like, fuck it, like
I didn't know what the hell to do. It took me like 2 weeks to get on that song.
Yeah, it took you 2 weeks and a whole rotation, if you get my drift.
It took more like 2 rotations.
Yeah.
Two rotations, couple drags, and a couple.
My man's was like going through it. Like at one point, he was like, I can't do this. And then like, I remember we were like, okay, well, we'll just put it in the back. And then like the next day, he's like, I think I might have something for this. I'm like, okay.
I remember how anxious you were. You're like, oh man, this is so.
Hey, I came in with a couple grams of confidence. Let's just say that.
Well, it worked. It really worked.
What kind of grams of confidence? I was kidding. What are we talking about here?
There are different types of grams.
Do drugs, kids.
But yeah, like you know, his verse is just like I don't know, like I love the dichotomy of like, because this is a good segue actually. I love the dichotomy of all three of our different flows, because we can all change it up. But like Braden, when it comes to like fast music, his verses are very constant, but they can change. With Danny, his verses are very expressive, but he can go fast like Kondo, or he can go slow like, you know, Fight. You know, like yeah, you know. But like, you know, like with me, like I can go fast or slow, but like with me, my lyrics are the key. You know, like I'm really big on lyrics, and so like it's just like the way that all three of our voices fit on tracks to me is like, it's like, you know, hearing nails on a chalkboard, except the chalkboard is made out of chocolate, so you can only hear the silk.
I ain't never heard of that in my life.
I just made it up on the fly.
Yes. Nails on a chocolate bar.
Nails on a chocolate bar.
That's
Is that the name of the next project?
Nails on a chocolate bar?
That
might be problematic.
That might be problematic. That's just an unorthodox.
No, that sounds like grunge out. That sounds like a grunge sex album.
It does sound like a grunge sex album.
We'll just stick with Waze our next project. Wink, wink.
But yeah, you know, like it's just, you know, I feel like our, you know, the dichotomy of all three of our styles really complements each other. Like, you know, like I love Braden's musicality on the guitar. Which, by the way, Braden, I have a friend. And this is you know, business we're talking on here, which doesn't normally happen. We usually keep it behind closed doors, so you should feel very honored that I'm doing this. Braden.
Yeah.
You know how I've been like really big into like I Prevail as of lately, which I'm a big rock head. I love rock. No, I've been that way for years. Okay, I attribute it to SmackDown versus Raw games. I'm a big wrestling fan. Debate your mom. So like I've been really big into I Prevail. From that, I have a friend that I've had for years now who does a niche band type, like really alternative heavy metal grunge rock. He's a bassist, really good at what he does. He had some plugins that he gave me for free, and they are on my laptop. So the next time you come over or I go with you, we're going to take those plugins and we're going to try them.
Gonna mess around with
them. We're going to mess around with them. Because I messed around with a couple of those plugins, and I got to say, they're impressive.
Whoa, keep it down, bud. Keep it down over there. Keep it
down. So, you know.
If anybody needs a depiction of what's going on, just picture that one scene in The Grinch where he's like slowly curling up his smile. Yeah, that's what's going on in my head.
And just be like, hey, mentally use your inside voice. Mentally use your inside voice.
But like I don't know. It's stuff like that. Like, you know, Danny will be like, "Hey guys, I made this new beat. What you guys think?" And he'll put it in the chat, and immediately like a minute and a half later, he'll get 2 exclamation reactions because, you know, we have Apple. We're all Apple here.
Thank God. Imagine if we had a freaking Android in there.
Hey, I cannot deny Android got me through some tough times, bro.
Last time I had an Android, it got stolen.
Listen, both of them got their problems. Both suck.
Yeah,
they just are two evils. But.
Yeah, you know, like Daniel put in a beat in the group. He'll be like, "Yo, check out this beat, man." I'm like, "Ooh, this beat is actually nice." And like Braden will be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with this." And I'll be like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm obsessed with this too."
I don't sound like that.
I don't sound like that.
I was gonna say that, like, when did we start sounding like Tyler, the creator? there was one point I remember, like one night I sent like 15 beats in like 10 minutes.
Yep,
dude, it's serious.
I listened to all of them too.
I was like, hey, let's just get these ideas down.
But I had to like.
I'm pretty
wait 30 minutes to just till you like got it out of your system and then go through all of it and was like,
yeah.
Hey, I must definitely try and steal that one later.
That is what you call good luck, because preparation plus opportunity equals good luck.
Amen.
Yeah. And that sounds like a good place to wrap it up because we are running out of time, unfortunately. So, well, thanks guys for being on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, honored to be on this.
And for everyone listening at home, thanks for continuing to listen, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for joining in. Peace out.
Peace out, y'all.
Peace out.
Hesitation, lack of oxygen got me asphyxiated. No more patience, fighting for my dreams, and now I'm losing patience. Hurting and thinking gave way to healing and dreaming. Can't lose focus for my motives and where I'm trying to be at. I want a quiet life, loving wife, couple trophies by my bedside. Parents who ain't never worried, houses by the beachside. So I'm gonna fight for all my friends and souls that slowly sinking. Middle class, but I've learned a lot from my own grievance.
This podcast is Uncalled For is hosted, produced and edited by Mike Chernevsky. Opening music is I Thought You Were Cool by Holy Isna CC0, licensed under a Creative Commons 0.1.0 Universal License. The outro music for this episode is Fight by Faded Mercury, used with permission from the artists. The co-host for the podcast is Braden. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcasting platform. Like our Facebook page at facebook.com/uncalledforpodcast, and check out our blog with show notes at uncalledfor.home.blog. If you are in the United States or Canada, you can call us at 816-832-5160. Leave your message or question for us, and if we like it, we will play it on the podcast. Please support the podcast and purchase our exclusive Uncalled For merchandise. T-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, stickers, and so much more. Go to www.cafepress.com/uncalledforpod. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.
Biggest fear, they'll cut me open and watch me bleed. I'm scared of this world, fuck this real world. Get chewed up and spat out, choked up and tap out. Look, time to kick it into gear. Yet I'm scared of who I'll be by this time next year. Look, I gotta grind in my life, not only in my mind, but inside of my fucking mind. Damn! All I do is fight. All I do is fight. I'm not wasting time. All I do is fight. All I do is fight. I'm not wasting time.
All I do is fight.
All I do is fight. So I'm not wasting time. All I do is fight. Fight until I'm dead, just to get out of bed till I'm seeing red. Hella fed about the setup. Man, I'm up to better things, but everyone around me that's just shopping for wedding rings got me missing when my journey sings. Yeah, I'm still feeding off the ceiling, changing like the seasons, like I barely need a reason. How typical, my hypocritic rituals, my lyrical habitual. You know this shit residual, let me get spiritual. Me and my fam don't want about to know man, so I gotta hit this thing, go and gain a couple fans, make a couple bands to keep some people at the camp before I go off the rails like an Amtrak. It's me and Danny on the track. Don't watch the NFL, but I still hit the sack. I've only ever had my day ones on my back. Listen to this and tell me that I'm still whack. Right? All I do is fight. All I do is fight. I'm done wasting time. All I do is fight. All I do is fight. I'm done wasting time. All I do is fight.